Hi everyone, in today's video we'll see how you can create a to-do list application in React. So here is the application that we'll be building today. So you can add a to-do here. So you can either click on this set add to-do button, or you can just hit the enter. That will also do the same thing. So to-dos are being saved and each of the to-do will be stored in the local storage. That means even if you refresh this page, the data will still be persisted. Now you can delete the to-do. That to-do is been deleted from the local storage as well. So if you refresh the screen, see that data has been deleted from the local storage. You can also update a to-do. So suppose you want to update it, so you can click on this edit to do button and you can click give a name called new. You can just save it and you can see that specific to do has been updated. So this is what we will be building today, and this project is mostly for beginners. So basically if you are someone who has just started learning React, then this video will be helpful for you and you can learn a lot more about how to use local storage. And here we will be using the functional component along with hooks like useState and useEffect. So now let's start. Alright, so now I am in my VS Code. So I have created a blank React project using Vite and I have started the local server. So now the first thing that we will do is that we will create the basic layout of our application. That means we will create an input element using which user can enter the to-do, and we will also create a button using which user can save the to-do. So now let's create that. So I'll create a form for that. So our button has been created and we have also created an input element. Now here I am not focusing much on the styling part, but you can style it as per your own. Now the next thing that we will have to do is that we have to create a state. We will create a state in which we will store the to-do. So let's create that. So we'll create a state called to-dos, and that will be an array of object. So I will initialize it with an empty array. Each of the to-do will be an object, and each of the to-do object will have a property called id and another property called text. So our to-do will look like this. It will have an ID and it will have a text. So ID will be an unique identifier using which you can identify which to-do we are talking about, and it will also have a text which will basically contain the to-do, like whatever text that to-do contains. So now our this button and this text element, it does not do anything. So now let's create a function called add to-do, and we want this function to be executed whenever we submit the form. So I will add the on submit here. Now whenever user types something text here, so you want to catch that. So for that we will create a new state called set current to do. So I'll initialize with the empty string, and now I will set its value here. The value will be the current to do text, and when someone types some text here in this text box, I want that value to be set in this current to do text. So for that we'll just set the value here. So basically when someone types some value here, that value will be stored in this state. So now the next thing that we can do is that let me add a console log here inside this add to do and try to print that current to do text just to see that we are getting that value or not. So if we test something here, so as we are typing something, we are seeing something, that value is being printed in the console. So one more thing that we have to do here is that, so whenever user is clicking on this button, the page refreshes. That is because by default, whenever you submit the form, it refreshes the page, but we don't want that. We want to stop that page refreshing. So for that that will basically, it will not refresh this page. Okay. Now if we type something, we're getting some error. Let's try to make it like this, add to do. Okay, now if we clear the console, refresh the screen, type something. Okay, so now you can see whenever you are typing something, you are getting that value, and it is no more, it is not throwing us that error anymore, and it is not refreshing the page. Okay, so so you can see in the add to do function, we are getting access to the latest to do. So whatever text that user has typed in this text box, that thing we are getting access in the add to do function. Now we can use that and create a new to do, and you can see that each of the to do will have a ID property, and ID will be an unique identifier. So let's create an ID for this to do. So this thing, it will actually create a new ID for us, and it will be each time it will call it, it will create a new ID, and that will be unique. So we can do that. We will also create a variable called to do text, and that will basically current to do text, and now we can update the state. Okay, so let's do that. Set to dos. Now whatever to dos that we had, and we will just append it here. Now let's console log the to dos. Remove this console log here, and let's see if we are getting that to do thing here. Okay, yeah, looks like it is working. So you can see each time you are typing something, so you are getting a new to do in the, new to do is being getting added. And once the to do has been updated, we want to set current to do as empty string. Now if we refresh the screen, clear the console. Now if we see, so yeah, we are seeing that the to dos are being getting added, but those to dos are not being shown up in the screen. So let's do that. Let's try to traverse to the to dos and show them in the screen. So you can see, so when user is trying to add some to dos, those to dos are being actually getting shown up in the screen. So now we have added some styling to the to do. So we have added a class called to do wrapper, and we have got some styling for that class. And now if we try to add some to dos, so you can see we are seeing the to dos in the screen. So now we are also seeing some error in the console. So that is because we are basically, whenever you render some list, so you need to pass some property called key. So you can pass the key value as ID. So key should be an unique identifier, so that React can easily identify which item you have updated. So now I think that error should be gone if we try to add something here. So now you can see that error does not come to the screen anymore. Now here what we want to do is that, so basically instead of rendering the to dos like this, what we can do is that we can create a new component called to do item, and we can use that component here. So let's do that. So let me create a new component called to do item, and what we will do is that we will copy and paste this code here. We'll move this code from here to here, and we do not need this part anymore. I think actually we need this part, this map thing we need. Then I think we can remove this part, this return part, to do item. Okay, now in the to do item we are actually accessing the item.id and item.text. So let's try to pass that here. Let me actually pass the to do item itself, and we can extract it here. And now I think we can use it here, to do item dot this, to do item dot text. Now if we refresh the screen, try to add something here. So yeah, it's actually working, but I think we need to add a property called key here also. Key will be item.id. Yeah, so now it is working. So basically we have created a new component called to do item, and we have moved that code here. Now the next thing is that we can add the to dos, that's fine, but we cannot delete the to dos. So now let's try to add the feature of deleting to dos. So here in each of the to do, I want a button called delete to do, and that when we click that button, the to do should be deleted. So let's try to work on that. And so here each of the to do item will have a button called delete to do, and here we will create a function called delete to do, and we will pass that function as a prop here. And we will extract it here. And when we click on this button, so on click, we we want this function to be run. Okay, now let's see if it is working fine or not. Okay, so button is actually coming outside of this. Let's try to fix that. We can move it inside, and now I think the button should work fine. So yeah, now if we click on this button, so button is working. Now it's not actually deleting the to do, so now let's try to fix it. Now when we click on this to do, we want that specific to do item to be deleted. So basically whenever we click on this to do, so suppose I click on this to do or this to do, I need to know which on which to do I click that delete button on. Okay, so when I click on this button, I want this to do to be deleted. I do not want this to be deleted. So for that, to identify, what we will do is that we'll actually pass the to do inside this function. So let's do that. And now I'll put a console log here, to do item. So to do item will be passed here, and I'll just console log it here to see if we are getting the data or not. Now if we click on this to do, so we are getting that object. If we click on the last one, so we are getting that to do. Okay. Now what we will do is that we will just write the code here to delete to, so whatever to do's we have clicked on, we want to work on to remove that to do. So now let's do that. We can create a variable called updated to do's, and it now let's try to console log updated to do. If we click on this button, so we can see that so basically this part, what it will do is that, so whatever to do we have clicked the delete button on, except that to do, it will show all the other to do's. So that's what it is doing. So we click on the second button, so you can see except the second this to do, we are seeing the other to do's. So now what we can do is that, so we can just set to do's. Okay, so we can just update the to do's. Now let's see. We'll add some to do's here. If we click on this, so you can see that get deleted. We can click on this, that is also deleted. We can click on this, that is also deleted. So that is how you can create a simple to do app, and in which the to do's will be deleted. So here I have some unnecessary code. I'll remove the console logs here. If we just test it once again. If we click on the second one, that gets deleted. If we click on the first one, that gets deleted. If we click on the third one, it also gets deleted. So now just to give an overview, what we did is that, so initially we had created a to-dos which will store all our to-dos of our entire application, and each of the to-do will look like this. So each of the to-do will have an ID, that will be an unique identifier. Another property it will have is a text, and that will be the to-do content. What is the text that the to-do content, so that will be stored here. Now what we are doing is that we have some add to do form, and now whenever user types some text here, so we are calling the on change, and we are setting that whatever text user has typed, we are setting that value inside this current to do text. And now when user clicks on this, user submit the form or submit the to do's, then what we are doing, we are calling this add to do function, and first we are stopping the page from being refreshed by calling e.preventDefault, and now we are creating a new ID, and we are extracting the to do text, and now we are creating a new to do, and then we are setting it into the state. And then we have some delete button. So when we click on this delete button, then we are just removing that specific to do from the state, and now it shows up in the screen. So that is how you can create a simple to do app with add to do and delete to do functionality. So our to do app is working fine, but there is one problem. That is that if you type something, it gets shown up in the screen, but if we refresh the screen, you can see all of our to-dos is gone, and that is because we are storing the to-dos in the state. And when you store something on the state, and if you refresh the screen or if you close the browser tab, then all of your data is gone. So that is what the problem is. But actually what we want is that even if user close the browser tab or refreshes the page, we do not want the to-dos to be lost until unless user has deleted the to-dos manually. So to solve this problem, what you can do is that we are storing the to-dos in the state, but also we need to store the to-dos in the local storage, so that if the user refreshes this page or close the browser tab, still the data is there. So now let's try to add the to-dos in the local storage. So let's try to add the to-dos in the local storage as well. So when user is adding some to-do, then I want to add the to-dos in the local storage as well. So let's do that. So it takes two parameters. First is the keys. So we'll give the key name as to-dos, and second will be the this to-dos. And before storing, we have to convert it into the JSON.stringify. So let's do that. Okay, so we have set that to-dos here. Now let me open the local storage as well. Now if we try to add some to-dos here, so you can see the to-dos are being shown up in the screen. So that's good. Let me try once more. Test 1, test 2, test 3. So if you look closely, you will see there is one issue, which is that, so in the screen we are seeing test 1, test 2, test 3, but in the local storage we are only seeing two to-dos. We are not seeing the test 3. So let's see why it is happening. But ideally, we want the local storage to have the latest updated state. But this is not what is happening currently. So why it is happening like that is that this set to dos, this function is an asynchronous function. Basically in React, the set state method, it's not a synchronous method. It is an asynchronous method. That means we have updated the to dos here, but after updating, if we try to access the to dos, which we are doing here, React does not guarantee that here you will be getting access to the latest updated state. React does not guarantee that. So that is what the problem. And what is happening is that here when we are trying to store the data to the local storage, we are still using that old state. We are not getting access to the latest updated state. So that is why it is happening. That is what the local storage is having the old data. So now how can we do something that so that the local storage can also get the latest data? So basically there are two ways of updating the state. So here what we are doing is that we are just basically passing the object. So basically we are passing the array to the set to do. So basically there are two ways to update the state. What you can do is that you can directly pass the state value, updated state value in the function, in the set to do. Another way is that instead of passing the value, what you can do is that you can actually pass the function that will actually update the state. Let's try to do that. Set to do's, and here we can actually pass the function. And in function we will have access to the previous, we will get an access to a variable called previous to dos that will basically get us access to the previous state. And now we can create a new state called updated to dos, and that will basically have to dos, and we can copy it here. And now this updated to dos, it will have the latest updated state. So now we will store this in the local storage, and we'll just pass the updated states here, updated to dos. And now we can return the updated to dos. So basically this way you can update the state, and this way you can ensure that you are accessing the latest state. So now let's see if it is working fine or not. Test 2. So you can see, yeah, so test 1 and test 2 both are having so basically now in the local storage we are storing the updated state. Now if you refresh the screen, so you can see, so data is stored in the local storage, but when you are refreshing the screen, we are not basically taking the data from the local storage. So now let's try to fix that. So we'll use effect hook. So basically we want whenever the page is refreshing, then we want to check if any data is present in the local storage or not. If present, then we want to use that data. So let's get a variable called to dos from local storage. Now we want to check if any data is present in the to dos from local storage. If yes, then we want to set that to dos here. Else we want to set the empty value. and we want this function to run when the page refreshes. That means when the component gets mounted for the first time. So we'll pass a empty array here. So now let's try to see if we clear the data from here, and if we paste something here, test1, test2, test3. Now if we refresh the screen, we are seeing some error here. Let's clear the console, refresh the screen. So you can see, even if we are refreshing the screen, we are still getting the data from the local storage. So that is how you can implement that. And if we try to delete one, so it's getting deleted, but it is not getting deleted from the local storage. Interesting. So if we refresh the screen, so that data is still getting back. Okay. So the problem is basically if we delete one to do, that is getting deleted from the state, but that is not being deleted from the local storage. So now let's try to fix that. So what we will do is that, so basically, so in the delete to do also we are updating the state, but we are not storing that updated state in the local storage. So now let's try to do that here. We'll comment these two and we'll call the set to dos, and we'll pass a function here. We can use this line here. So here we are getting the updated to dos. So now we can set that value in the local storage. Let's copy that line, paste it here, and updated to dos is okay. Updated to dos in here. Now return updated to dos. Now if we refresh the screen, if we delete this to do, okay, now I think it's deleted from the local storage as well. If we delete this to do, yeah, so it is also being deleted from the local storage as well. Now if we refresh the screen, so we are only seeing that, the only to do that is present in the local storage. Okay, so that is how you can persist the data, persist the to do's data in the local storage. So just to give you an overview, what we did in the local storage part is that instead of actually passing the value to the state to do, what you can do is that we can actually pass a function, and inside that function we have calculated the updated state. We have first stored that data in the local storage, and then we are returning that updated state. That means we are updating the state. So actually we are calculating the updated state, then we are storing that in the local storage, and then finally we are updating. So the storing data in the local storage part, it happens before the state is updated. And the same thing we have done for the delete to do as well. After the to do has been deleted, we have stored that data in the local storage. So that is how you can build a React app which has the add to do and delete to do functionality, and also the data is persisted in the local storage. Now let's try to refactor this code a little more, in which what we will do is that we have a form to add to do. So we will create a new component called add to do form, and we will move this code into that component. So let's do that. I will copy this code and move it here. And here we are using some props. So basically we are using add to do function. So we have to pass that as a prop here. Add to do. Now we have to pass this current to do text as well as a prop. What else are we using? Okay, we are using this set current to do text also. Okay, now let's see if it is working. We are seeing some error here. Current to do text is not defined. Okay, so you have to actually import that as well here. Extract that. Set current to do text. Now if we refresh the screen, if we clear the console, if we refresh the screen, second latest, okay, if we delete, okay, it's getting deleted. Let's try to check. Okay, if we try to click the delete here, it is deleted. Okay, so yeah, it is working fine. Now one more issue is that, so user is able to add empty to dos. So we don't want that. So we want user to be at least type something, then only the user should be able to add the to dos. So let's try to see how you can prevent the user from adding empty to dos. In the to do text, we can check if to do text empty, then we can send an alert called, let's see, let me delete all the empty to dos. Okay, now when user tries to add some empty to dos, then we are seeing some error message, warning message, basically alert message. Now the next thing what we want to do is that we want to add the edit to do feature. That means now user is not able to edit the to dos. User can add to do, delete to do, but if the user want to make some changes in an existing to do, that is not possible. So now let's try to understand how we can add the edit to do feature. So first of all, what we can do is that, so basically I want, just like there is a delete to do button, so just beside that we want an edit to do button as well. And when user clicks on that edit to do button, then this text current to do, whatever current to do that user has selected, that button, edit button on, that text should be populated here. And now from this input box, user can make changes there. So that will be our goal. So now let's try to see. So I think first of all what I will do is that I will create a button called edit to do, edit, and I will, let me create a function first, edit to do, and we have to pass that function as a prop here. Okay, now let's add a console here, let's add an alert here. If we click on this, we're seeing some error, handle edit to do is not defined. Okay, handle edit to do, I think we forgot to, okay, so we have to extract it here. Now if we clear the console, if we clear, okay, if we click on this edit button, so we are getting that pop-up. Now what I want to do is that, just like we have an add to do, so whenever user clicks on this edit to do, we want a new form to be opened here. So for that I will create a new component called edit to do form. What I will do is that I will copy the code from the add to do, and I think paste it here. I'll just copy the return part. And we'll use that component here. And we want to show this edit to do form component only when the user has clicked on this edit button. So for that, actually I will create a state called edit, and that will be a boolean value. By default it will be false. Now when user clicks on this edit button, then we want is editing to be true. And let me pass these props as well. For now, just to get rid of the error, we clear the console. Add to do is not defined. Okay, edit to do form, we are seeing an error called add to do is not defined. Let me import, we have to extract this thing in this edit to do here. Clear the console. Okay, the errors are gone now. So, but we are seeing both of these, which is not what you want. So basically we can add a condition, when is editing is true, then only we want to show this component. So we want to show this component only when is editing is true. And when it is false, and the add to do should be only being shown when the is editing is false. Now if you click on the edit to do, Okay. So yeah, now if we click on the edit to do, so you can see the edit to do form has been populated. Now actually when user clicks on this edit to do button, I want the to do text to be populated here. So when you click on this edit to do button in the to do item, we have this function handle edit to do. So that function is being called, and here is this add function. So what we can do is that I think we can, let me try to console log. Actually this function is getting a parameter called to do item. So we can just console log that just to see that if we are getting the correct, like if we are getting that to do or not. Let me add another to do. We click on the edit to do, so you can see we are getting access to the first to do. So we have click on the edit button. If we click on the here, we can see that to do we are seeing. Now we can, what we can do is that set current to do text as to do item dot text. Okay. So when we click on this edit to do, so that to do text we want to populate in the text box. Now actually when someone clicks on this edit to do, or maybe make it save to do, that will be better. If we click on the save to do, so then we want that this first to do will be updated with this text. So now let's see how you can do that. First of all, what you have to do is that when user clicks on the save to do button, then I think this function is called this add to do. Okay, it's not actually add to do, it should be, actually we need to create a new function called update to do that will basically update that specific to do. Okay, let's create that update to do, and I think that should take a parameter called to do item maybe, and we will pass that update to do here, update to do, and here also. Okay, and when someone updates the to do, basically clicks on this button, we have to stop that page refreshing. So for that actually it will get a parameter called event. You can just stop that page refresh here, and I will add a alert here. Update to do called. Now if we clear the console, refresh the screen, click on this edit to do, that gets updated here. Now if we click on this save button, so we are getting access to the, so we are basically calling this updated to do. Okay, now actually we need to get access to the whatever updated text user has updated. So we have to get access to that, and I think that will be stored, I think we'll be already getting access to that in the, since we are already in the edit to do form, we have an on change called set current to do text. So I think whatever new text that user has written, that should already being updated in the current to do. Let's console log that current to do text, refresh the screen. If we click on edit here, first 1 2 3 4, now if we save to do, so you can see we are seeing that updated text in the console. Okay, now the next thing is that actually we have to update the to do with this new text. Now for that we need to actually identify the to do, in which to do that user has clicked on. But at present we are only getting access to the current to do text, but you are not getting access to the to do. So how do we identify that which to do user want to update? So for that what we can do is that we can create a new state called like current to do index, and in this handle edit to do, we are getting access to the current to do in which user has clicked the edit button. So we can extract that ID from this here and set it in the state. So let's do that. Set current to do index will be to do item. Okay, let me actually check if we are getting the data in the to do item. Okay, clear the console. If we click on the edit to do, so yeah, we are getting the data already here. So we can do to do item dot index ID. Actually, whenever user clicks on this edit to do, then we are just setting that this the index of this first to do in this current to do index state. So basically here when user clicks on the edit button, then we are setting the ID of this current to do. So in this case, first the ID of this current to do we are setting in the current to do index state that we just created now. Now using that ID we can update the to do. Okay, so we can create a variable called updated to do text, and that will be current to do text, and that value we want to update in the to dos. So let's do that. Let's create a value called updated to dos, and we want to map through the to dos called map. And if the item.id becomes equal to the current to do index, then what we can do, item.title text, I think text it was, item.text, what it was, yeah, item.text. Okay, item.text will be updated to do text, and return item. So we have the updated to dos here, and now we can just set it in the to dos. Updated to dos, set to dos, and now we need to also store the data in the local storage as well, because whenever user is updating the data, we want to store in the local storage. Okay, now let's try to test it. If we click on the first 3 2 1 1 2 3 4, okay, I think it is updating. Now if we try to update the second one, so yeah, it is also updating. Let's try to see in the local storage if the data got updated or not. Looks like there is some problem in the local storage. If we refresh the screen, okay, yeah, so there is some problem in the local storage, so data is not being stored properly in the local storage, and I think that is because you have to JSON stringify the data actually. Let's call that and updated to dos, yeah, okay. Now if we refresh the screen, let me actually clear the local storage data. Okay, now if we refresh the screen, clear the console, okay, the errors are gone. First, second, third, fourth. Now if we open the local storage, if we try to update this one item, okay, so it got updated here, and it also got updated in the local storage as well. So that's good. If we try to delete the fourth one, that's get deleted. If we try to delete the first one, it is deleted. Now if we try to delete the update this one, save to do, it is also deleted. Okay, so one issue is we are saying that after updating the to do, we want the to do to be cleared from here. Okay, so we want to show the add item. We don't want to show the edit item anymore. So for that, I think after updating the to do, we can just set edit as false, and also maybe set current to do text is empty. If we refresh the screen, see some error. Okay, now if we update, let me open the local storage. Okay, if we try to update this thing and you want to update it 1 2 3, save this. Okay, that is updated, and it also removed this from here, and it has shown us to the add to do items from. Now what we want to do is that we want to create and cancel button here. So suppose that user decided to update a to do, and then the user changed that his or her mind that okay, I don't want to update the to do, I just get out of here. So user can click on that cancel button. So that button should only be present in the edit to dos here, and we can call this button cancel. and when that button is clicked, we want the set editing is editing to be false, and these two we want to be called. Okay, let me, where it is, I think, yep, these two. Copy that, pasted it here. Now we need to pass these things, set is editing and set current to do text as a prop also. So let's do that. And we need to import them here. Okay, cancel. Okay, now let's see. We're seeing some error here. Okay, actually it has already been imported, so no need to import it once again. And here we have just by mistake we have imported it twice, so we have just remove that. Now let's see, we try to add something, test1, test2, edit to do. Now if user wants to update it, he can update that, updated. Now if user changes their mind and say that I don't want to do anything, let's click on cancel. Okay, so when we are clicking on this cancel, you are going back to the add to dos form and we are clearing the content from here. Okay, yeah, so that is working fine. Are you seeing any error in the console? Looks like there is some error. Or delete to do, no error, delete to do, no error, update save to do, no error, update, and no. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, I think it is working fine. So that is how you can create a to-do list application using React, which has the feature of adding to-dos, updating to-dos, and the data is stored in the local storage. That means even if the page is refreshes or the tab is closed, the data is still persistent. Now here I did not pay much attention to the styling part, but you can add your own styling and make it look better. So yeah, that's it from my end, and I will leave the code sandbox link in the description, so you can take a look at the source code if you get stuck anywhere. If you have any questions or any suggestions or any question that you have related to this video or any other videos or in general, then you can put them in the comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.